And welcome into the Wednesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I slid the little thing on my phone to the right on the alarm last night before I went to sleep. So we're making real life improvements.
Yeah.
I will tell you guys, it's kind of amazing. Like, I just straight up opened my eyes and I'm like, something feels weird. And I looked at my phone. It was 6:00.
That's pretty crazy.
Like, something about my brain said, this is when you're supposed to start saying stupid crap
you're supposed to be
into
talking,
a microphone.
You moron.
But instead, you're curled up with your little teddy bear and need to get moving here. So there you go. So it's good to be here.
My phone updated last night, and I was like, well, this is going to screw something up. Like, something in here won't work now.
I hate that.
And there I'll be pulling a Rexrode the next day. Just showing up.
That's what it is now. It's pulling a
Rexrode.
Yep, it's only fair.
Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Doing good. I also have this software update that's been flashing at me for a few days. Has not gone off on me automatically yet. I was expecting it. Quick shout out, Evie Safar. Little one turns 4 today.
Yes.
Happy birthday to the little one, Evie. So
happy
proud
birthday.
of her and all the stuff she's been through. But happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Evie. Nice.
4 years old. What a day.
Yeah,
Fun times.
I miss it.
But made it up through the basketball game too.
What's that?
Did you?
Yeah, I stayed up, watched the overtime.
Yeah, Ian's been
The-
struggling
for
staying up,
Tennessee.
watching
Balls.
some of these games, some
Yeah.
of these overtime games, and
I made it up through both
Balls.
overtimes.
Double OT, man.
Vols overtime.
Vols
Preds
and
overtime.
Preds. Stayed up for both. Saw 'em.
That is impressive.
So,
Our buddy
finally
Gentry
made it.
Estes was at the Preds game last night. So, big win for the Preds. They get the W. Anytime they get an actual win against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and the Oilers, you'll take it.
That
So,
means something.
good stuff from the Preds last night. But Gentry was keeping me updated on the Vols game kind of down the road, too.
Oh, sure.
They're not very good, are they?
Well, right now they're not. Although actually Texas A&M is pretty good. So Texas A&M, Bucky McMillan, Bucky Ball. They're not a bad team. The Tennessee is a little bit of a mess right now, but last night Nate Ament kind of took over and he kind of figured out, like, you know what, I can just get to spots and just score on people. It's never going to be like Dalton Connect, anything like that. And he's going to go in the first round. And he should probably play 2 or 3 years of college basketball, but he's going to go because he's the size he is, the shot he is. He's very skinny, but I will say I think he grew up a little bit last night, and that's what they're going to have. You have a guy like that who, when he really comes down to it, he can get a shot whenever he wants. Not everybody has a guy like that.
This is going to be a team that gets to the Final Four, isn't it?
Yeah,
The one
right. Yeah,
This will be the one that they just
out
kind
of
of
nowhere.
get through the regular season, and they're like some 9 seed or whatever it is, and then they'll just go to the Final Four.
Well, I don't know that they're gonna. Yeah, like they would certainly be a surprise.
Bracketology. Where are they?
Yeah,
what
what
seed are
seed
they?
are
I
Right
will
now?
tell you, I'm going to bracket watch right now. I'm a bracketometrist.
Joe was sitting here the other day
I'm
working on all of his
He was.
spreadsheets.
I'm a bracket enterologist. I have them. Yeah, I have them going into this week as a 6.
Okay.
Starting out in Buffalo, playing the winner of Virginia Tech and Oklahoma State, in case you're wondering. And then possibly matching up with 3-seed Michigan State in the second round. I'm just saying.
Ooh, Izzo.
Yeah, but they're a 6 right now. That's a good win for them. They could still be a top 4 seed. They've got to figure some stuff out. But Barnes. I'm telling you, these Tennessee fans, you got to stop with every time something doesn't go your way in basketball, Barnes got to hang it up.
Do you know who you're talking to?
I understand. I mostly just follow along with Wes Rucker, who just tweets people, and I'm like, Wes, it's not worth it, man. It's not worth
Fighting
it.
a losing battle, son.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be okay. Last night actually could be a little bit of a turning point. There you go. Got in some basketball.
Well, and as
excited.
we were discussing yesterday in the aftermath of the morning skate press conference from Andrew Burnett, apparently, Vanderbilt has the best athletic program in the country now. It's just, they're just going to win in football, and they're never going to lose in basketball. And we know what they are in baseball, and they'll just keep going. So.
It's like it is. You kind of look around and you're like, holy crap. I'm actually kind of trying to figure out right now if there's an AD in the country who has made 3 hires like Clark Lee, Mark Byington, and Shea Ralph. I'm going through it. I'm not done going through all the Power 4. So far, the answer is no.
I was going to say that can't be a long list. Cannot be a long list if there's any list at all.
Yeah.
So
pretty
good
impressive
stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Vanderbilt basketball rolling around here in Tennessee. Good to get that win last night in overtime. And like I said, Preds, they held McDavid to 2 points last night. So as Yossi said after the game, it's pretty good. Anytime you hold it to 2 now, it's fine. He's on a 20-game point streak. He's already at 82 points, and it's January the 14th. So
sure.
That's what's going on with them. But they get it to overtime last night. They get the win. And, hey, right now, as of this morning, understanding that there's a crowd of teams right there together, they're not technically in the playoffs because San Jose got another point last night, but 1 point behind the Sharks for the final playoff spot in the wild card. You got LA, Predators, Anaheim, and I guess if you want to include Chicago, kind of all right there together. So big win last night for the Preds.
No, that's the thing. And some of these in this uptick, there's been some impressive wins in there.
Yeah. They got an opportunity for another one coming up on Friday on the road in Colorado. If they beat Edmonton and then go on the road and find a way to beat Colorado in the same week, that'd be pretty wild.
Yep. Start looking at the map for the parade route.
Exactly. Joe, Mike Tomlin out as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He informed the Steelers yesterday that he would be stepping down as head coach. So we talked about this possibility of now that the season was over for Pittsburgh, what exactly would happen here? Would they fire Mike Tomlin? Would Mike Tomlin want to get out of there? And apparently the answer is he is done, and he is stepping down as head coach. Now, it looks like the expectation is that he is not coaching next year. So if you're a Titans fan and you were like, okay, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, maybe they could part ways or whatever the wording or terming would be, and he'd be out there and available immediately to hire. The answer to that is no. Doesn't look like he's coaching somewhere else next year. And technically the Steelers still have his rights.
Yeah.
So if you wanted him to be the coach, you'd have to go basically a la Sean Payton from the Saints and make a trade for him. So you can cross Tomlin off the list, I think, for this offseason.
Yeah. It's a huge story. It's crazy that we have Harbaugh and Tomlin both out with those jobs. But it doesn't add to the coaching cycle because he definitely stepped down. They definitely if they fired him, then it would be different. He would be, anybody could hire him. He still may go TV, but the fact that you have compensation tells you, this is his decision. And I get it. I'm sure it's gotten old. Look, we got people, again, Steelers fans on our text line are like, oh God, I'm sure there's some celebrating, good riddance and all that stuff. And, again, I get it. Like, you've kind of been mid for a long time, but he probably got sick of it. I don't know. I absolutely expect him to coach again. I know that there's a lot of excitement about him on TV. I think he'd be good on TV.
I agree.
But also I just feel like he's so much of a competitor. I feel like he's going to do a year of that and be like, yeah, it's enough of this.
Yeah.
But then obviously and then if he does that at 27, I believe he's good to just go out there. You don't have to trade the Steelers anything for him to coach. So that's probably how it's going to go. So next year he becomes probably like it's like pre-registration,
Yep.
Bell of the ball for the next coaching cycle.
You would think so at that point. And, I would assume, obviously TV is the first thing people start talking about right now. Like, what's he going to do? Is he going to be a studio analyst? Is he going to be like a color commentator? Is he going to be like calling games? Can he go right to the top of another network's broadcast like Brady did? What do we think?
I guess.
Just put him with Brady.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Brady I guess he just has to like juggle at cocktail parties, and then that's all he needs to do to get on the top
Brady's
team for Fox.
Brady's everywhere, man. He was on a hockey podcast yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, Spitting Chicklets.
Oh,
yeah.
I
was like, wow, didn't expect that to happen.
Why?
I don't know. Didn't listen yet.
My question is, is it possible for the Titans to hire someone and then fire them after a year and go get Tomlin next year?
Well,
Why don't we? We'll ask
It is definitely
Kuharsky.
possible for the Titans to hire someone and then very quickly fire them. There's no doubt.
I actually am changing my number 1 to Mike McCoy. Just make Mike McCoy the interim coach all of next year and then get Tomlin. Let's do it.
You know, we really wanted to keep going with Mike McCoy. Cam showed progress at the end of the year.
And then we're going to go hire another Mike at the end of the next year.
Questions, Paul?
Paul, do you have any questions? Doing a press conference just for you.
Speaking of Paul, we will have him on the show.
We will.
Later. We will get his thoughts on how the Titans coaching search has evolved to this point. And, one of the points that he made yesterday that we will talk about is a lot of interviews coming for the Tennessee Titans. And it's about information gathering, not incompetence out there. So we will get into some of that with PK. Dianna Russini will be with us at 7 o'clock on the program today. We will get into the Titans head coaching search with her, and we're going to kind of drill down on John Harbaugh with her as well, because some very interesting stuff on the John Harbaugh front. We're going to get into some of that coming up next. Take your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's head to our phone line. Welcome in Bob and Antioch to the program. Bob, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. I've got two questions. If the Predators stay in the playoff hunt, what do you think they should do at the deadline, and what do you think they will do at the deadline? And I'll listen off there.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
You got two questions in like 5 seconds. Callers, listen to Bob and learn from Bob.
Take some notes. Bob is ready to go.
Bob is efficient.
Bob is efficient.
And good questions.
What do I think they should do? It would be very difficult for me, barring them, over the next, because I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The trade deadline, you look at the deadline date and you're like, well, it's 2 months away. It is, but from a game standpoint, they're not that far away. I mean, they barely play in the month of February because of the Olympics. So when you got the rest of this month, you got I think 6 games in February total. And then boom, the first week of March is here and it's trade deadline time. So they're really not that far away from the NHL trading deadline right now when it comes to actual games left to be played. I mean, I guess if they just go on an absolute heater here, then maybe I'll change my mind. But I just think with the Western Conference the way it is right now, and I know they just beat Edmonton in overtime last night, but you got Colorado that's been an absolute wagon all year long. You got Edmonton, and we know what they are, and specifically we know what McDavid and Draisaitl are in the playoffs, and they are on an absolute mission. And that doesn't mean they're going to win, but they're on a mission heading into this year. We'll see. Those are probably your two most likely opponents in the first round because you're finishing in the wild card if you're the Predators, if you make the playoffs. So because of that, you would have a hard time convincing me that you shouldn't kind of remain on a path here and field the best offers you can get and start selling off some of the guys. Trotz did say with DVD yesterday that he's got a pretty good idea what his team is, and he doesn't know that the plan that he has right now is going to change all that much. Now, I don't know what that plan is. His plan could be, I know what my team is, and we're pretty good in my plan. But I think that means that they're going to be fielding some calls and making some deals come trade deadline time in terms of not buying to the team.
Yeah, that's how I took it too. I took it as basically this isn't affecting how I look at the whole thing. So how could, if that's the case, a few weeks ago you had to have looked at it very differently, right?
You would think so,
or maybe not looked at it, but things were very different. I will say so, and I'm not advocating for going all in on this team or like that. But it is, you deal O'Reilly, and your Forsberg, your Yossi, your all those guys.
Yep.
You are it is officially you guys are in a rebuild now. So good luck. You may not see the playoffs again in your career. I mean, I know that may seem a little dramatic, but if you're really in a rebuild,
yeah, I mean it's a tough spot to be in for sure. But again, I think they're going to be able to get a lot for O'Reilly. And, people were asking me yesterday, what does a lot mean? I think first round pick plus high level prospect. And if that's the case,
it's hard to pass up.
That's hard to pass up.
It's hard to pass up. If you get a prospect you love that you really believe in plus a first, you gotta have it, man. Yeah. I mean, and he, Trotz was talking about Celebrini and stuff and, having to try to how and when and where do you get these difference makers?
Yep.
Got to have them.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens on that front. But again, it's January the 14th, and you look at it and you're like, well, trade deadline's not until March 6th or whatever it was. From a game standpoint, it really ain't that far away. So some decisions going to have to be made in the not too distant future by Barry Trotz. Joe, we mentioned some interesting stuff on the John Harbaugh front. We're going to have Dianna Russini coming up at 7 o'clock. And she, among others, put this out there yesterday on the John Harbaugh front that it looks like, based on the way the coaching cycle is setting up at this point, that the Giants, the Falcons, and the Tennessee Titans are considered the favorites to land John Harbaugh, which kind of tells me, Joe, that as he's sifting through things this week and deciding on where he interviews, all the indications right now look like the 3 interview teams are going to be the Giants, the Falcons, and the Tennessee Titans. Now, I know the Falcons have put it out there that they've already interviewed John Harbaugh, and now there's all sorts of question as to what that actually means. I mean, like Graziano
we shared a
and
text.
Schefter have put it out there. It's like, well, yeah, they kind of had the same conversation with the Falcons that they've had of every other team that has a head coach opening in the moment, and the Falcons was like, yeah, we interviewed John Harbaugh. So I don't know that he's actually sat down and actually interviewed with the Falcons yet, but apparently there's at least some interest there. But Russini says the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans are considered the favorites to land John Harbaugh. Joe, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it seems very real. And look, again, if that's the case and he interviews, first of all, start with, okay, that's a good, that for whatever it's worth, I think it's worth something. John Harbaugh thinks enough of Cam Ward to give the Titans the time of day. Like, again, I have to think now I'll read Ian O'Connor, who followed up, who quote tweeted Dianna Russini's tweet and said, he said, this is why I moved the Titans to a tie for second with the Falcons of the John Harbaugh Invitational. Titans' massive cap space is very intriguing to the coach, along with Cam Ward and Mike Borgonzi. Giants still have a slight lead. So cap space, the GM. But again, you also have coming from ownership, although ownership that's fine ripping him now.
Hey, Steve, would John Harbaugh still be your coach if your kicker made a kick in the last game of the season? For a week.
He was a dead man walking. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if we won the Super Bowl, maybe by double figures, maybe then he would have been okay. But I have to think that ownership is a con. So again, those other things have to weigh out pretty well, and I have to look at this as some level of endorsement for Cam Ward if they get this interview. Look, this is way more real than I thought it was going to be, but it's clearly some level of real. And that's got to be exciting. Like, if you're a Preds fan, do you want to get super excited about the idea of again, Giants slight lead. How are the Giants going to lose that slight lead? The Giants apparently are taking him to breakfast every day and like getting him, crumble cookies afterward and stuff. Like, they have a lead. So how do they lose the lead? But that's what interviews are for, right?
It is.
And if Cam Ward conducts the interview, then I think the Titans have a chance.
I mean, the interesting part, in addition to all this, is there's still no deal between Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers. Still has not happened yet. Now, I mean, that could happen, I guess, at any time. Like, if we could, in the next 10 minutes, there could be news out there that he signs an extension. But, I mean, until he does, don't you have to at least leave that in the background of possibility if you're him at this point? I don't know. It's interesting to me that, 2 days ago, it's like, yeah, I mean, they're going to try to get an extension done. And 2 days later, when I would assume that's probably all they've been working on, that there's no extension done.
Well, and now you go back to as much of a absolute turd in the punch bowl Schefter usually is to the human race. I mean, that the way he framed it was pretty effective and probably smart because
they're going to try.
They're going to try. That's weird. That's kind of a weird way to say it. Well, there you go. There was some sort of uncertainty about it, and here we are. Wild.
Yeah. So
I know. See, that's the see. Titans fans, don't get your hopes up too much about John Harbaugh, but it's possible.
It's possible.
Robby, don't get your hopes too much about Matt LaFleur being out, but it's possible.
Everything is on the table as we sit here today. But again, if he interviews with the Titans, I'm with you. Like, that to me has got to be some level of endorsement of Cam Ward. Now, I have heard people say this, like, okay, well, if he doesn't interview, like if he's going to interview like 2-3 teams and it's not going to be the Titans, like who else is he interviewing with? Like, he's not interviewing with the Cleveland Browns. He's not interviewing with the Arizona Cardinals. It's like, well, maybe that could be true. But like the Titans, we've talked about the ownership part of this. They have been through some Cleveland Browns-esque moments over the last few years. They've been a terrible football team. So if he's gotten through the film here and is that intrigued by Cam Ward and the situation that you just described with Borgonzi and the cap space and all that, that he is willing to interview with the Tennessee Titans and seriously consider the job, well, doesn't that kind of take you behind the scenes of maybe the attractiveness of this job being a little bit better than we thought heading into this?
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's Cam Ward. Like, there's things about the Giants that you have questions about. I mean, look, their GM. I don't know. A lot of people are like, "How the heck does he still have a job?" Now, granted, as you pointed out this week, like, look at their roster. Like, he's picked some good players,
Sure.
but it's young quarterback. And then with Atlanta, is Fontenot still the GM?
That's a good question.
Did he keep his job
In
when
Atlanta?
they fired Raheem Morris?
No, he's gone.
No, they're both
They're
gone.
good. Yeah, they got. Remember, they have two different search firms.
Matt
that's
Ryan.
hiring the GM and the
That's right.
coach.
That's right. So they're looking for. It's just that one is just. It must be a Matt Ryan thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an Arthur Blank. I mean, I feel like for the most part, Arthur Blank has been a pretty respected, like, as a pretty level-headed owner. Maybe that's part of it. But again, the quarterback situation to me is not exciting.
No.
And you don't know who the GM's going to be. But with these two.
Well, doesn't Harbaugh want part of the GM?
Well, that's the other thing. So
maybe
so
he's
I'm
like, hey, I could do double here.
Well, but Ian O'Connor's sitting here saying Mike Borgonzi is why he's interested. Right?
Yeah.
Is Joe Shane just gonna be like, oh yeah, come on in here and I'll sit in the corner? Like, that's where it really gets interesting with the whole, and something I'm gonna ask Dianna for sure. It's like, okay, so does he want to be the absolute emperor of a football franchise or not?
It's a really good question, but the Titans are included on the list of favorites to land John Harbaugh. We'll take your reaction to that. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
the expectation is that John Harbaugh will start doing face-to-face interviews with the teams that he's interested in later this week, early next week. That's the time frame that we are looking at. I would expect the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans to be three places that are appealing to him for various reasons. And if something happened and Green Bay did make a change with Matt LaFleur, I think that might be the leading candidate to land John Harbaugh, at least, in terms of what he would desire.
As Dan Graziano discussing John Harbaugh and the schedule for him, maybe some interviews later this week, early next week, and including the Titans on that list of favorites to land John Harbaugh. Taking your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Joe, one texter says, do you think that Nashville's smaller media market would be viewed as a positive compared to the Giants and to a lesser extent the Falcons? What do you think of that?
Yeah, if that's what anywhere near even the middle of a head coach's list of things that matter, I'd be worried about them. But it's probably something you talk about. But then someone would be like, hey, John, hold on. Have you ever heard of Paul Kuharsky? Yeah. Google him.
Yeah.
Google me. I annoy.
He's like, I was going to take the Titans job, but then I read paulkuharsky.com, and I can't do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's one of those things that it's just about can you win? Are you set up to win? Are you going to be supported? Are you set up to win? Let's face it. We being media, we're just like little fruit flies who annoy you and buzz around. You just wipe them away.
Some places there are more fruit flies than others, but
right.
So get that fly swatter out.
Feeding on as you leave like a watermelon out, it's just an absolute disaster.
Ed says, do we think Amy has been engaged and spoken with Harbaugh, personally or through Borgonzi? I would imagine that Harbaugh would have had a conversation with her before finalizing his top three.
Well, first of all, Harbaugh hasn't finalized his top three.
Right.
So this is media reporting, and I absolutely – the two people at my shop that I cite, Russini and O'Connor, in this situation, they're pretty source. But I don't know that Harbaugh is like, here is my official time. He's got the hats on the table, right? That's a good question, though. Like, has Amy already? I don't know. Like I would think not. Like, I think you probably just go through the protocol of, just people, the normal people would reach out to your agent and, you do and then come in. And then once you do that, I guess I'd have a hard time believing it'd be like, will you please come interview with us? It's just like, it seems a little desperate. I don't think that's probably the case, but who knows?
I think I enjoy your Amy voice more than mine.
No, we'll stick with you on that.
David says, how likely is it that Harbaugh has spoken with Vrabel about the Titans job and ownership? If so, I can't imagine that it's a ringing endorsement. I don't know, I don't think Vrabel and Harbaugh are all that close. They almost fought each other at midfield, didn't they?
Yeah, I was at that game in 2020 in Baltimore, and it felt like it was an episode of The Walking Dead. There was no one in the stadium. You could hear them yelling at each other from the press box. But yeah, they almost came to blows. I don't think Vrabel and the Harbaughs are best friends. Also, Vrabel's kind of busy right now, so I would guess no. Look, anybody can. There's a lot of people you can talk to, though. There are plenty of people. Everybody knows somebody in this league, in an organization. Everybody does. So there's somebody who he has a connection to. We can probably figure out 5 people.
Denard Wilson.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So Denard, tell me about the Titans.
So that Amy Adams Strunk, he understands. It really is a question of, again, this is where you talk to Borgonzi and Brinker, and it's like, okay, to me, it's like, do you guys feel empowered to do now? I guess it's like, is this room bugged? Are we is she watching somewhere? But it's like, do you feel empowered to do your job?
Right.
Like, is there support? Like, are we going to be able to, to spend money in free agency, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Ownership is certainly part of this. We've talked about that. One question that I've had throughout this is, does quarterback and opportunity with roster construction here, does that outweigh ownership, right? And look, we've talked about this. We have not seen a ton of evidence to it at this point, but it is possible that Amy Adams Strunk looks at what has gone on around here for the last 4 or 5 years and thinks to herself, you know what? I got to change the way I operate here, right?
Well, I think we've seen some of that.
We've seen some of it
yeah.
publicly. Now, I think there's always been a question in the background of that is, all right, well, when push comes to shove, will she really do that? Like, will she really change the way she operates? Will she let her people just go ahead and make decisions and basically not remain totally out of it, but, let her people make football decisions? And it's possible that ends up being the case moving forward here. But, ownership is a big part of this. We've talked about that. But if you're Harbaugh and you're looking at the tape and you legitimately believe that Cam Ward's going to turn into a really good quarterback, I mean, to me, that would probably still outweigh ownership at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Look, ownership, it's also ownership that when you were winning, she jumped to give huge extensions and raises to the people who were winning.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you believe, well, things are going to go well under me, so I'm not worried about all that stuff that happened, then there you go. And I would think that John Harbaugh has a pretty healthy amount of confidence.
Well, and the other part of this is, we've had people all week ask us on the Harbaugh front, do we think that Amy will pay? Do we think that she will pay that much money for coach? And look, I guess it's possible that they could get to the interview process and he could narrow it down to his 3 teams. And then I guess he gets in there and Amy's like, oh, well, we're not going to pay anywhere close to that much money. What would you do that for? But I would assume that as a part of the narrowing down process, like his agent would probably get like a rough idea of what these teams are willing to pay him, right?
Yeah. I will say, actually, now that you bring it up, that's another, just like I think Harbaugh actually interviewing here is a commentary on Cam Ward, on his evaluation of Cam Ward, which I think is not insignificant. I actually think that if he even comes here, it's that should tell you that your owner is willing to pay. He's not coming here and then they find out, yeah, we're like in that 6-7 million range. What do you think, buddy? Cost of living way better than New York. No state income tax. Come on, John. No, that's so. I think you would have two conclusions you could jump to, and it's not huge jumps, which is he likes Cam Ward, and Amy Adams Strunk is willing to actually throw out some cash for a big time coach.
I'm just thinking of Christmas Vacation when Clark gets the Jelly of the Month Club in the mail. And he's like, oh, this is it's like Harbaugh showing up to the interview. Clark, John, we've got a real good deal for you here. The downtown Nashville YMCA, great time. You can go down there. Good workout facility they got down there, and we're going to pay you $2 million. Come coach Tennessee Titans. What do you think? Come on.
Yeah, I like it.
Be amazing.
They'd go well.
It sure would. Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Matt to the program. Matt, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, good morning. Just a few thoughts. Two problems. First of all, they don't have a roster. I mean, they have to redo the whole roster, and I don't think Harbaugh is going to want to spend that much time in a rebuild. Plus, Cam Ward, we don't know if he is actually the quote-unquote franchise quarterback. You go another 3-14, and people are going to start questioning. So, my point is this: just because you have cap space, they had a lot of cap space last year, and look who they got. And now they're going to replace all these guys. So, the coaching, I feel the coach is going to have to be younger and willing to lose early and reap the benefits later. But I see they're on the clock for 2027, in my opinion.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Now, I hear what Matt is saying on the, obviously, when you've got that much cap space, that means you've got probably a lot of roster turnover to do here. Now, I think some coaches view that and say, well, I've got a pretty good amount of runway here to change things pretty quickly if you want to. And look, we don't know that Cam Ward is a franchise quarterback. in the same way that we don't know Jackson Dart is a franchise quarterback, in
Or
the same
Michael
way
Penix.
that we don't know Michael Penix is a franchise quarterback. And those are the three teams that we're talking about in connection to John Harbaugh right now, which is why, again, like if the Green Bay job opened up, it's like, well, we do know that Jordan Love is a franchise quarterback. So that's kind of in the backdrop of all of this, as Graziano said to begin the clip here of this segment. But like none of these teams, the Giants, the Falcons, or the Titans, we don't know that any of those guys are franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah. And look, I understand the idea of you got to be willing to lose, but again, like just go every single year. There's a team or more than one team that comes from terrible and all of a sudden is one of the great stories of the league. You know, obviously the Texans, did it. The Commanders did it.
Yep.
Shoot, this year, the Colts were on their way to being the story of the league. The Jags were one of the stories of the league. Who else? I mean, it's every year. Every year there's teams that are projected to be well below 500 who end up in the playoffs. I mean, so not saying that's a snap of the fingers it's going to happen, but it can happen. It does happen all the time in this league.
Well, and it requires good decision making. And look, these guys and John Harbaugh should believe that he can come in and help make good decisions to get a roster turned around. He's had a really good team and roster for basically every year except a couple since 2008. And I understand that the Ravens are, a well-oiled machine, and they are one of the best organizations in the league. And from a roster standpoint, they've done such a good job for a long time, and that's not the Titans. I get that. But if he's looking through the situation, he ends up deciding on the Titans. That tells me he feels pretty good about Cam Ward. And it probably also tells me that he's got some pretty decent respect for Mike Borgonzi and the job that he thinks he can do.
Yeah. And, if it ends up that he was about to take this job and the Packers steal him away, I don't know that this town can forgive you. So be ready for that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You'd
on that
love to
front.
find out.
I'd love
You
to
would
find
love
out.
to find
Let me tell you, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. A lot more of your thoughts to get to on this. We will do that. Dianna Russini coming up at 7 o'clock. We will get into the latest on the Titans head coaching search with her as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. We will have Dianna Russini from The Athletic with us here to begin the 7 o'clock hour. We will get into the John Harbaugh saga and the Titans head coaching search with her. So looking forward to that. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. Joe, one texter asking, if Harbaugh is hired as the head coach, how big of an impact would that have on potential free agent signings? Would his name and coaching record be enough to lure some bigger names to Nashville?
Yeah, I think that's generally an overrated concept. Not that it's never a factor, but, I mean, it's for the most part, these guys get on the market, and it's a lot about, obviously, the offers. Of course, you want to go somewhere where you can win. So, what position are we talking? If we're talking about offensive players, sometimes that could be just as much about, the quarterback for them too. I don't think that's going to be some humongous shift. It's like, do you have the money? Do you have an opportunity? You're certainly selling a vision, and everybody wants to win, but I don't know that it's going to be, that's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, and again, how many big time free agents are there, right? Like how many we've talked about this at positions where you really are looking for impact. How many times do those players make it to free agency? Sometimes. I mean, it does happen, and you can find some, really good pieces in free agency to add to your team, which it's going to be important the Titans do that this offseason. But I'm with you. Like, it generally comes down to offer. And I would say this, in terms of free agent attractiveness, how good Cam Ward looks over the next year or two and how good, maybe some potential free agents think he could be, probably more of a factor in that than John Harbaugh being the head coach would be my guess. I mean, it depends on who we're talking about here, but the quarterback, I think, when you're a free agent and you're feeling really good about a potential team's quarterback situation that you're going to me, that's a pretty big deal in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course, you feel good about the coach. Yeah, great. I mean, I think that these are all factors, but that's another thing. Like you said, it's like the great. Every team in this league, when it comes to the salary cap, which is real, but every team, some people struggle with it because every team is going to keep their top players. They're going to find a way, So it's really it's like your next tier of players at best is who gets to free agency.
So we started the coaching cycle off, Joe, with, Matt Nagy, probably the favorite. He was the betting favorite to land the Titans job.
I forgot about that guy.
And now it looks like John Harbaugh is at least going to give legitimate consideration to taking the Titans job. So if they don't end up with John Harbaugh at this point, how disappointed do you think Titans fans are going to be?
Yeah, that's the thing. You are kind of setting yourself up for disappointment here, aren't you? You talk about John Harbaugh, and, you talk about, again, we're not even talking about Kevin Stefanski. He's just sort of an afterthought right now. Man, Nagy is an afterthought right now. It's like, what about LaFleur? What if LaFleur? Again, if LaFleur gets out there, that I think could be a real problem for all these teams with Harbaugh. And then, if you're the Titans, I think that most Titans fans would be pretty excited about LaFleur. I guess it depends on how much they listen to you. For a faithful listener of this show, you may actually think LaFleur sucks.
I've said that I think for where the Titans are right now, he'd be a good hire.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So
if you ever want to win Super Bowl, he's probably not.
Yeah. Just get to.
You can worry about that when you get there.
People said that about Andy Reid too. Just saying. And then
there
he won one. Well, I'm just saying.
Let's compare those.
Actually, I mean, Andy Reid did have some pretty freaking bad clock and game management gaffes.
Actually, more I think about it, it's not that bad.
I mean, it's like, now I'm not saying LaFleur ends up being him, but Andy Reid also has benefited from Patrick Mahomes, to me, more than Mahomes has benefited from him. They both benefited, but he's been the beneficiary, the primary, right, of having a player like that. Anyway, would LaFleur like this place? Would LaFleur want to come back to this place? I don't know. You get into that. But again, we're talking all these high level, top shelf candidates, and Meanwhile, they're interviewing everyone else in the world.
They are.
So they've got themselves some information.
Well, I think Mike McDaniel interviews for the job today, right? So, I mean, again, Mike McDaniel, when this process
by the way,
started,
how about him?
When this process started, I think Mike McDaniel, if you mentioned that in connection with the Titans job, most fans would have been like, yeah, good OC coming in with Robert Saleh, right? And it's like, well, it's, if you ended up with Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel now, I still think that's it could end up being pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I'd like
I'd
it.
be fine with it. But now that you know that Harbaugh's at least got some interest in the Titans job here, and there's Stefanski that's out there, and who knows what's going to happen with the floor and all this other stuff. Like, it is interesting how this cycle has continued to just shift over the past week.
Yeah, there's a lot of social climbing going on in the Titans coaching search. By the way, with Stefanski, I wonder if Jim Schwartz would be part of that, and if he were part of that, how much more attractive would Kevin Stefanski be to Titans fans?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question because I think we know Jim Schwartz is a good defensive coordinator, right? I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator here, and he's been a good defensive coordinator throughout his career. Is he that good of a defensive coordinator where it's like, I do think McDaniel, from a play design standpoint and a play call, like he's pretty good as an offensive coordinator. Like, is Jim Schwartz that on the defensive side of the ball? I don't know that he's that, but he's pretty good, right? So,
I know.
And the bottom line is, that's true. The bottom line is that people just don't put the same stock into like defensive coordinators being like that as they do offensive coordinators. And I understand why. It's the quarterback and all those things, but people, I think fans generally don't view it the same.
No. But then, you used to look at Seattle and you see what's happened with them. Now, they
Pretty
also have a very good creative offensive coordinator who, is he on the list? I can't even keep track of the list. Clint Kubiak's he on the list? I don't even know, man. I don't think he is either, but I mean, why not?
I don't think so.
But there's still time to be added to the list.
Yeah. Do we have the breakdown of, so it's 19? Harbaugh would be 19.
I believe that is correct.
Of how many would be are defensive guys versus offensive guys? More defensive guys.
I think
it's definitely more defensive guys. I don't know how much more, but it's more, which is interesting.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we will be joined by Dianna Russini from The Athletic. We will get her thoughts on the John Harbaugh situation, the Titans head coaching search, the attractiveness of the job, all of those things. Paul Kuharsky will be with us later in the program as well. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We are discussing the Titans head coaching search and the John Harbaugh saga. And to help us talk more about that, we head to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in our friend Dianna Russini to the program from The Athletic. Dianna, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. You guys must love this time of year with this idea that you got some optimism floating around Nashville right now and all the excitement. I can tell you there's certainly tons of buzz of, what is this going to be? What's it going to look like? Change was obviously needed. So I'm actually really pumped for Titans fans as well, knowing that this organization is doing a lot of work. A lot.
Yeah.
To try to make sure they nail this, So it's nice to join you guys.
It is a refreshing change of pace. Certainly glad to have you on the show with us this morning. So let's just start there on the Harbaugh front. You put it out there yesterday that, as Harbaugh's going through the process here, it's looking like the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans are the favorites to land the former Ravens head coach. So as you're looking at this, if you're John Harbaugh, what do you think stands out about the Titans specifically, and what do you think are going to be some of the factors that come to mind for him as he makes this decision?
Well, two names, Cam Ward, Mike Berganzi. Those are two things that I can tell you the Harbaugh side of this really likes. I do think the big element, the thing that really separates the Titans from everybody else is the community. I will say, even talking to candidates that have been interviewing and going through this process, not named John Harbaugh, that's always the lead story in terms of when they talk about living there. And, I think sometimes fans think this is just about football, and it's not always just about that. Wives have a lot of power in this process. Wives have a lot of say on where they want to go, where they want to be, especially for these coaches that are going on on a second stint. Families that have young children, schools are important. But for the football side of it, I think Cam Ward, I know Harbaugh's done a lot of work on him. He's watched some film, and he's really impressed with him and with just a lot of what he does organically and just the athleticism that he brings. And I just think the idea that he's so coachable. His reputation is really good around the league, and it's really what's made Nashville really a bright spot in this coaching cycle when, I think years ago it was different. I don't necessarily believe that the Titans job was a blockbuster gig, but now there are a lot of coaches, and the 18 of them that have been interviewed, none of them are taking that interview with very little interest. They all want the job.
So, Dianna, you mentioned Mike Berganzi, and obviously the Titans recently put out, the statement that kind of clarifying that it's his roster, and Brinker is sort of, the president, but separate and all that stuff. But then my question on Harbaugh is, and I know that he's, worked with a GM forever. There's some talk, does he want full control? A lot of these coaches, they get to a certain level of success and they want that extra power. They want to make sure that they have the final say. Is your understanding that if he were to come here, he'd be good with the setup as the Titans just announced it and just basically be the coach, he's the GM, or would he want more power than that?
Yeah, I get the sense that the setup that stands right now is what he's comfortable with. He's not trying to come in here and change this up again, right? They definitely have a unique setup there. Obviously you have the Atlanta Falcons who have a bit of, I guess it's kind of similar to what the Titans have, except the person really running point now is Matt Ryan, since he's the president of football, which is I guess kind of a new title. But he's going to oversee everything. And then in New York, you have really just Joe Shane. And from speaking to all three teams and even speaking to the Harbaugh side to this, it doesn't seem that anyone's setup is detracting him because he is power hungry or feels that he has to have the final say. He had a good working relationship with Eric DaCosta in Baltimore. And, we've all heard over the years where Harbaugh would be frustrated with things because he wanted it a certain way. But I don't think he's taking this next job going, I'm making the call on the final roster every single week and who's doing what and how we're drafting. And I think he has strong confidence in the way Tennessee has set it up. And I do think Mike Berganzi's brought a lot of appeal. I think that should make fans feel really good. there isn't a lot of muck when you talk about this team right now in terms of the candidates trying to get this job. Even discussing ownership, right? That's the question candidates are all asking. What is it like to work for her? That's a lot of the back channeling that coaches do. They call each other assistants, former head coaches, former GMs, agents even, of what is she really like? And I think the reviews have been pretty good considering, because I know there's been a lot of up and down, and indecisiveness, or even maybe very decisive.
Over decisiveness, yeah.
Over decisive over the last few years, but I just think that's really good news. And I'm not saying I'm shocked by it, but I had a conversation yesterday with someone who interviewed, and they seemed really good with the setup, with the way it's all been going. Now, do I think there's a lot of fat in Tennessee? Yeah. Like, it feels like there's a lot of people, whereas when you talk to New York, it's just Joe. Right? It's just Joe Shane. Like, you just talk to him, and yes, you have ownership group and they're involved. Obviously, the Mara family has always been part of the football operation. He's in the building every single day. But, I think so far candidates seem to be okay with the way it's working.
So, Dianna, it looks like the Packers and Matt LaFleur are trying to nail down an extension here, and that seems to be the plan. It has not happened yet to this point, though. So if that for some reason falls apart, could the Packers throw a wrench into this thing with John Harbaugh?
No, I don't think that's a destination that would be on the top of his list. I think what's working for him in that regard is it's NFC. I know my former colleague Adam Schefter painted a pretty clear picture. Brian Harlan, John Harbaugh's agent, has a long history with the Green Bay Packers because of his family. And I don't really think that that's actually going to carry any weight when it comes to John wanting the job. I think in terms of communications and lines of communications, if, for example, the team wanted to actually move on from Matt LaFleur before this weekend, then maybe that definitely was working to the advantage of Harbaugh's camp. But I don't really get the sense right now that is on top of his list. And look, most around the league believe that the Packers are going to find a way to keep Matt. This is just not as clean as you'd want it, right? There's no way Matt LaFleur feels great about this. And that's one of the more bizarre scenarios from the difference between what a team thinks and what the rest of the league thinks. Like, it's definitely one of the more common conversations that's going down right now among coaches and even coaching agents of, how could they get rid of Matt LaFleur? Like, he's really good. But, I think there's a lot of coaches around the league right now that you could probably say that about. I don't think anyone really expected Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Baltimore Ravens, to pull the trigger and really move on from John Harbaugh after all these years. But you heard him in his press conference, like, he felt very good about his decision, that it was time. But I think Green Bay and Matt LaFleur will work it out, and I don't think that's going to be an option for Harbaugh.
Our Packers fan Robby is shedding a tear as we conduct this interview right now.
Oh wait, Robby, you're an anti-Matt?
Oh, don't get him started.
Don't get him started.
All right, Robby, roll with me on this then. Okay, so let's just say, for this example, the Packers are like, okay, hey, Matt LaFleur, you want $12 million a year? We're not doing that. We'll let you walk. And the Tennessee Titans bring him in for an interview. How does that feel?
I think it's a good. I was telling Joe this earlier. Like, for where the Titans are, I think he would be a great hire. Like, he's clearly good at developing quarterbacks. There's a lot of stuff come playoff time and in game that I think we saw on full display in the Chicago game that has been a problem from him for a while. And I think Packers fans are kind of sick of it.
I remember last year when I was talking with people with the Bears, I was asking them about what's actually going down in these interviews, right? Because I think we kind of just gloss over it. We just assume that they do what they should be doing. You get to know each other. You talk about your past. You talk about some of the mistakes you made, some of the strengths of what you can bring to a team. But I remember the Bears telling me that they put up on a screen a bunch of different, we'll call it game management situations, because obviously before Ben Johnson, when Matt Eberflus was there, we saw specifically
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, that's just some bad game management. So they basically, like, we'll call it, tested out these coaches that interviewed for the gig and was like, here's the scene, here's the situation. Tell us what you would do and explain your reasoning, which I love.
Yeah.
And I sure hope the Titans are doing that right now and going, because game management has become one of the most crucial parts of coaching that gets botched. And you could be a kind of coach that walks into a facility, and you can establish identity, and you could hold the best players accountable, and you can draft well, you can do all these things. But if you can't understand what happens in a game in the fourth quarter when a certain situation comes your way and you make the wrong decision, it costs your team, the other stuff really doesn't matter. Like, you better be really good at this and have a plan and a reason for everything you're doing. So let's keep our fingers crossed that Tennessee is doing that as well.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Dianna, about a guy, Mike McDaniel. Is that today?
Today.
Am I right?
Yeah.
I can't keep track of the 10 million interviews, but so here's a guy who I guess I've kind of warmed up to him. I know things didn't go well, and maybe there were some things publicly he didn't handle like great with Tua, but at the same time, he also, to me, Tua was kind of disappointing / like hurt a lot, and I just feel like, I guess I assume that McDaniel's probably headed for an OC job next, but I don't know. I'm kind of warming to the idea of him. So first of all, from what you're just talking about, how is he considered, I guess, as a game manager? I know he's a great offensive designer / tactician. Do you consider him a serious contender for this and other head coaching jobs, and not like someone who's going to have to go the OC route and bounce back to it?
Only in the NFL can you get fired and your stock is up, right? Like, it's unbelievable. Like Kevin Stefanski. I don't think anyone even really paid attention to Kevin Stefanski. And then he got fired, and now he's like the hottest candidate outside John. And it's funny how that works, but there's a reason, and it's because they actually really are very good at what they do. And Kevin Stefanski would be I think a home run hire for the Tennessee Titans, just being around him for the years that I've covered the Browns and knowing what he's about as a human being first, as like a person. He's a good soul, a great family man. His dad's got coaching experience. He grew up in Philly. Like, there's a lot about him that's really good. And obviously he's considered to be very bright. And if you have one conversation with him, you'll walk away being like, yep, that dude's smart. Like, he just got away and I just think he's always the smart guy in the room, because that's just how he's been and was blessed with. But Mike and Mike is the same way. McDaniel, like, he's the same. He's very smart. And when you talk to defensive coordinators who have to game plan against him, he's always a headache. Like, nobody thinks he's an easy offensive play caller to deal with. So I think that stuff's being highlighted right now. So to your point, I do think it would be also a really good hire to bring in Mike. And one of the best things I find in football specifically, and I have this conversation with Matt Nagy, who's obviously considered to be a top candidate there. The growth these guys have when they leave one organization and go to another, and the tweaks that they make to their personalities, the changes. I mean, the core of what they are is there and what they believe in, but the ones that are really good about offering up what they did wrong. I saw Robert Saleh on Sunday after the 49ers stunned the Super Bowl champs and kicked their butts. And we were talking about this in the hall, just if he could do it again, what he'd do different, right? Matt Nagy and I have had that conversation over the years, what he would do different. And I think that self-awareness is so big. You're even seeing your former Tennessee Titans head coach, Mike Vrabel. He's not the same guy. I saw him this summer. He's the same, like, you guys know his personality. Like, he's the same guy, but he's made tweaks with how he manages. I can tell you that. I felt it at camp. I was like, this isn't the same guy. And I think sometimes it's humbling, but also they're a little bit more self-aware that the way they were doing it maybe wasn't the best way. So I think that's also another big reason why you're seeing these second stint guys get attention. Arthur Smith's meeting with them today, I believe. Another great candidate. I think that would be a home run. Arthur Smith gets it. He gets it from top to bottom. And he also works from like a space of just, he's really rich. He doesn't need this, I know that's funny, but there's truth to it. Like, I've had this conversation with other reporters, like, Arthur's just got away. Like, he is a billionaire. He just does this because he loves the game. And I think that gives you a different type of power.
I don't think there's
Good
any
point.
doubt about that. There's no doubt.
Don't you wish you had that problem? Guys,
sure
we
do.
would not be doing this right now.
Man.
We would be sitting poolside, in some private island right now. Not certainly not coaching football or talking about it.
I know. They're only paying us what, like $4 million a year?
Yeah,
for
I
this
mean,
job,
we
Robbie?
really gotta step it up.
Yeah, and we can finally, move toward retirement.
That's right. That's right.
2070.
Well,
So good.
Diana, as you said, I mean, Titans fans are fired up around here. It's going to be fun to see how this whole thing comes to an end here. And you're kind with your time as always. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
Oh my gosh! Of course, I'm pumped. I'm excited to see how this thing lands. It needs to get going. Like we've been all going 100 miles an hour since the end of the season, and obviously with the playoffs, that's the most exciting part. But now with all these openings, I'm curious who's going to be the first to hire. I almost think someone needs to make that bet, right? Who's going to be the first team? So we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Diana. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, Dianna Russini, our guest here on the program from The Athletic. Does an outstanding job, as always. We appreciate her taking time to be with us. We'll take your reaction to what Dianna Russini had to say on the John Harbaugh front. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us later in the program as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Appreciate Dianna Russini for being with us in the last segment. Interesting stuff on the John Harbaugh front, as she talked about.
There's a lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack. Giants, Falcons, Titans, looking like they're in good shape to land interviews with John Harbaugh here. One thing she did touch on there was the Borgonzi dynamic of all this. There's been the thought out there that, Harbaugh, very accomplished head coach in the NFL. Would he be one of those guys that's like, you know what, in this next stop, I think I've earned a little bit more say, a little bit more power. And is that going to be a big sticking point for him throughout this process? It did not sound like Russini believes that will be the case with John Harbaugh. And, Mike Borgonzi, we talked about, the comments from Ian O'Connor earlier in the show, and then you hear it from Dianna Russini there. It seems like Borgonzi is a big plus for the Titans in this specific conversation with John Harbaugh.
Well, and this is where, as a fan, so if a Titans fan says, why? He had, the couple nice fourth-round picks. Right now, a second-round pick that looks really iffy. Not a great free agency period. I mean, Mandor, was okay. But so why? Well, it's because, these things can happen because of just reputation. Right?
Sure.
Again, it's just like everything else. And that's one thing that was kind of a theme there in her segment. And it's something to always keep in mind is just everybody talks to everybody. And so they have a good feel. So if people I think this Borgonzi guy's smart. I think he's good. Now she also mentioned, I thought it was interesting, of so many things about the Titans there that are interesting. One, Amy.
Yep. And
the fact that right now that's not apparently, at least for some people, serving as a big deterrent. That's helpful for the Titans. The Nashville part of it's really interesting too. Like, again, I go back and forth. It's like, do you care? But like she said, there are other people. Now, Harbaugh doesn't have young kids. So I think
it just depends on the situation, right?
Yeah. So the school thing isn't I think absolutely for people who have kids going to school, I don't think there's any question. People are attracted to coming here.
Yep.
So there's that. But
I think that plays a big factor in Harbaugh. Just the outside the football realm lifestyle. I don't know why. In Nashville is a pool for him.
Just tearing it up on Broadway every
No, I don't think that's the lifestyle he wants. But I don't know. Something about Nashville, Tennessee, market. I think he finds
place to live,
I think that'll appeal to him. Yeah, it sounds like that's something that's a factor. She also mentioned I think she said, like, there's a lot of fat in the Titans front office, which is interesting too. I mean, that's something we've talked about. It's like Borgonzi, there's a whole bunch of other cooks in the kitchen too.
Got 9 Super
Does
Bowls.
that matter? Well, that's true. As opposed to just Joe Shane over there. Look, I listen to that and it's like, man, you gotta. First of all, I fully expect him to interview him, right? Like at this point, I'd be shocking.
I'd be pretty stunned
if he doesn't
not.
give them an interview.
Yeah,
and it sounds like they have a shot. What percentage? I don't know. I should have asked that question. Give me the percentage between Titans, Giants, Falcons. But another thing is the quick dismissal of your Packers.
Yeah.
Now, again, unfortunately for you,
I think everybody's assuming that LaFleur is going to get an extension, which I am too. But I was just the situation where, I mean, until he signs the extension, right? Don't you have to leave the door open that maybe the talks just break down at that point? Because if they do, like, you would have a hard time convincing me that Harbaugh wouldn't give that serious thought at that point. Now, look, maybe he doesn't want to live way north in the cold. I have no idea. Like, some people don't have no interest in living in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Like, that's the only that's what came to mind is like, it must be that, right? Yeah. Like, no, thanks. Which, again, all due respect to Green Bay, I get that.
Sure,
I do,
it's ain't a whole lot to do up there and it's cold.
But from a football perspective, to me, that
Very
would
good
be like, are
situation.
you kidding me? Yes, Jordan Love. Boom. I don't need to wonder if Jackson Dart or Cam Ward are going to become grand franchise quarterback. I got one, so I don't know. But oh well, whatever. It doesn't matter. You got Matty for several more years, so just
25 years from now, Matt
embrace
LaFleur will
it.
still be the coach of Green Bay Packers.
They'll be so close to so many Super Bowls in that time.
Oh, it'd be great. Really looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Titans fan, you are reading the tea leaves right now, what's going on in the Harbaugh front, and you feel like you've at least got a chance, right? And I don't know how many Titans fans thought that when this whole thing began. Harbaugh shakes free, Are the Titans really going to have a legitimate shot to land it? And look, I don't know that, we're talking about 3 teams here, the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans. Could the Titans be third on that list? Yeah, they could be. I have no idea how he ranks them. But the fact that they're on the list, I think, tells you that that's pretty good. And clearly, from what Russini said and by the billions of people that they're interviewing in this process, it doesn't seem like the Amy Adams Strunk part of this is a huge negative for them. And look, we've talked about that before. If it's really close, could that end up being a problem for them? Yeah. At the end of the day, it is one of 32 NFL head coaching jobs, which I think sometimes we lose sight of in these discussions.
Yeah, and this is like a two things true thing in terms of it has been ridiculous from a fan perspective, media perspective. Again, like the over decisive stretch here with Amy Adams Strunk. It has been ridiculous and it's been destructive. But these people who have gotten to the point of, especially like a Harbaugh, who's won a Super Bowl, like they don't think about these things in terms of, ooh, when we're kind of crappy, am I going to get fired?
Right.
When I go 7-10, am I going to get fired? That's not in the mindset. The mindset is, okay, what the question really is, it's investment. It's like investment, and then you allow people to do their jobs.
Right.
So as long as you are comfortable, and again, there's an interview, but there's also a whole bunch of back channeling that these football people are allowed to do their jobs, and you think these football people know what they're doing, then the owner does take a step. The owner is less of a factor.
Yep.
Than we think about out here.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. More reaction to what Dianna Russini had to say on the John Harbaugh front coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com has joined us here on the program. PK, how are you?
Hello, Nashville. I'm well.
Are you been able to keep track of all the interview candidates are floating on around here? A lot of interviews going to be happening with Tennessee Titans.
I've got a list. Joe apparently has a lot of trouble finding a list, having it open on a screen during this. That thing I said about yesterday, by the way, we can't talk about.
Sounds good.
What?
I know what he's putting down. It's all good.
Don't say some weird crap that I don't know what you're saying on air. Tell me
Concentrate.
off air.
Concentrate. Well, it's too late to tell you off air because we're back on
now
air.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna try to figure out what it is and blurt it out on the air.
Yeah, fun times. Fun times. The one thing, Dianna, interesting segment. The one thing she said that I think she just got twisted. Atlanta is not operating now like the Titans are. Atlanta's operating like the Titans were.
Right.
So Matt Ryan's going to be like Chad Brinker and have all the power, presumably. And the one thing that might make it attractive is it's the only job where there's not a GM in place. So that was the one thing for Harbaugh. But I talked to somebody last night in power with another team, not New England, who said, out of all these jobs outside of Baltimore being, the most attractive, and now Pittsburgh obviously attractive on the stability front, that Tennessee and New York are obviously the most two attractive because they're the only two that have a quarterback that you can go in and think you can do something with. All of these other jobs, it's a complete kind of start from zero with quarterback. Now you go to Atlanta, you've got some sorting through to do, but there's no reason to have faith. Sorry, Joe, and your guy who's, he did some good things, but you're not building from start with Cousins, and you don't know what Penix is anymore. And all the other ones, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about in Arizona or in Cleveland or in most of these places? And so you might not like Cam Ward, but the guy's got a zippy arm and can throw across the field and make some miracle plays and all of that. You're starting with something.
I like how we have this great informative session with Dianna, and you nitpick the Atlanta.
No,
thing.
I just wanted to clarify.
Just clarify.
No, she's all over a ton of
great. So of those things, let's go to. I mean, my eyebrows raised on a few things. One certainly like the owner. We've talked it out some, but the owner not being a huge deterrent. The Cam Ward. I mean, again, to me, first of all, after that, I fully expected. Maybe you already did. Harbaugh's going to interview.
Yeah.
Also, sounds like he likes Cam Ward. The Borgonzi thing too, and the control, because I honestly don't remember you guys telling me someone in the NFL reported that he wanted full control, right?
Who?
I don't know. Was that not reported?
Full control. Borgonzi?
Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a big report from Tony Grossi about his quote unquote conditions, $20 million a year, $10 million for his staff, full control over the roster, and picking his GM.
And it sounds like he's been out there totally refuting this.
Well, picking his GM is ridiculous. As I said, every team in the league except Atlanta has a GM. Yeah. So you're basically saying, I'm coming in and tearing up your organization, which most teams seeking some level of stability say, hey, I really love John Harbaugh, but do I want to scrap everything that we've laid down? Like for the Titans, we finally have the start of something stable. People seem to like Mike Borgonzi and think he's knows what he's doing. If those are the conditions, am I scrapping that and starting again, even for the great John Harbaugh? I could see the argument for no. I know some people think that's crazy. Give him whatever he wants. But I can understand saying at some point when we start along a path, we have to continue along the path. And so, but now Jones from CBS came out and said that's not the case at all. And what I hear is he just wants to like the people he's working with. And I think Borgonzi is hitting and connecting with a lot of these people that they're meeting with on the level of, hey, I could really like working with this guy. Yes, they only won 3 games in his first year and all of his moves weren't great. But this is a football guy I could sit down with and I could really envision myself working with this guy.
So Grossi, who covers the Browns, you just where the hell did that come from?
Well, also, again, this was radio nuance. He was delivering this on a radio, and he said, I've talked to somebody who has said this is what
Yeah,
he's
see
right
that's
now,
that's
as
the stuff that
opposed to
just doesn't
reporting.
even need to rise to the level of becoming this huge thing, right? Like, but whatever.
Right,
We don't
like
need to
what
get
I
into
said
that, but it's just like it's
last
just annoying.
week, where I couched what I said about McCarthy, which turned into Kuharsky says McCarthy's not interviewing, which is not what I said, and so it makes a reporter not want to be on the radio having a casual conversation because no one will take it as nuanced or just cut off the preface and the sandwich that's around what's said and just take, cut it down, whittle it down to
This is what the
turn it into fact.
What were you just doing with your hands there?
I was
He's fired
using
up.
the parentheses.
No, I'm not talking about that. Take it easy over here, pal.
fired up.
The one other thing, so the Amy Adams Strunk, you basically hit on it. Like, she's fine coming in. It's when you're going out.
So if you don't think you're going to lose, then whatever.
Yeah,
Who cares?
right. It's when you're going out. Well, yeah, and
If you're winning, she's going to be at the tailgates, man. Like, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a blast.
you want a job coming in, and the people inside will say, "Oh, she's fine. She's not bothering you and everything." Now, you've got to take notations, though, of what Vrabel and Callahan and even Carthon, but Robinson are telling you about after, when things start going badly or when there's a moment of strife or whatever, and how she'll randomly interject something crazy. And so if she's scoring that high, people are doing well to dress her up, I think.
Well, how big of a deal is it that it looks like he's at least going to interview here? Because as you mentioned, the quarterback, when you sort through the quarterback part of this, it makes sense because who knows what they're doing in Arizona at quarterback, right? It's a division that's absolutely loaded. You're rolling with Shador as quarterback in Cleveland. I don't know how good you feel about that right now.
Miami's a whole.
Yeah, the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick coming up, so there's that.
Pittsburgh's got. That's what cost Tomlin in the end.
Yeah.
Everything since Roethlisberger's been a mess.
And they got Will Howard, but you're drafting 21st if you're Pittsburgh coming up. So from a quarterback standpoint, it makes sense why he would be interested in the job. What does this signal to you about Cam Ward? Also, what does it signal to you about, we've had questions all week. Is Amy going to be willing to pony up and pay for a guy like John Harbaugh? I would assume if it gets to the point where there's an interview taking place, that's the answer to that question would be yes.
Yeah, I would think so too. Now, so I think Andy Reid is tops at $20 million. I don't think he gets what Andy Reid gets. That would be where I would say, hey, you're second.
I thought Clark Hunt was cheap.
To Andy Reid.
Yes, that's why he's cheap on everything else.
Maybe. But I think it probably costs you 18. He's making 17, so it's going to cost you more than 17.
Do you remember when Vrabel and J-Rob got those raises? Vrabel got bumped to
Vrabel was
high.
9.5.
9, yeah.
So between Vrabel and she's paying 13 to coaches at one point between Vrabel and Callahan, who is exceptionally cheap. We've discussed this at $3 million. So, and she's still
Callahan getting paid what a SEC defensive backs coach is paid.
She's still going to be on the hook for that 3. But if you think she was paying 13, the jump from 13 to 18 is not going to stop you from getting the most stable coach you can get. It shouldn't, if she's serious about this. It shouldn't. And look, for John Harbaugh, I would believe the staff demands is too strong. The staff request. John Harbaugh is not calling plays on either side of the ball, but this guy is a magnet for staff, right? You can't go anywhere that's more stable than working for John Harbaugh, and based on his history. Let him go get his people. Yeah. Let him go get his people, which means you're going to have big-time coordinators on both sides of the ball. Now, he's changed offensive coordinators a few times there and stuff. But
do you think Monken's coming with him, though? Would you guess that?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked at that closely enough, but I would think he would have, pick of the litter for who he wants and get somebody Cam specific. I don't know if Lamar specific is Cam specific. It's very different.
Just more traditional. I mean, Lamar,
Yeah,
right. I mean,
right.
like Lamar is like the totally
special.
Well, but
different from
again, like
everybody else.
if you're worried about that as a Titans fan, I would just say we've seen. I mean, John Harbaugh won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco as quarterback. It's polar opposite of the way
Right.
Lamar Jackson plays.
Yeah.
I would expect to see as good a staff as we've seen, better. But also
so you're already counting Harbaugh as the coach.
Well, no, but I'm
Paul,
saying
you just
I'm
said
not.
we're going to see this staff. That means he's the
No,
coach.
with
You just
him.
reported it on our show.
there you go. With him, you would
Tic
expect.
Tac Titans. Did you hear that?
With him, you would expect as good. Can't we can I get like some kind of radio jammer to
Just
turn
shut
on
him
for
up over
my
there.
hour and a half that he can't hear? I hate that you mentioned his name.
I'm
Gives
sorry.
him any kind of.
Just-
But if he came here or wherever he goes, you would expect him to get a good staff. And eventually somebody's going to break the seal on this, hire their coach, and that's going to accelerate everything because then you get into this thing with this many openings about the coaching derby for the staffs. And that actually is going to be kind of just as interesting as the head coaching thing because it's a stampede.
Yeah, Cardinals are going to go out and hire like Mike McCoy today or something.
I mean,
Come on in, staff. Hey, we got jobs. They're
wanna
right
talk-
now. We got jobs right now.
I don't know about ranking 1 through 9 here, but I know about 9. 9
It's a bad
is
job.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Because that division is stacked. They've got no quarterback. That ownership is
Bidwell.
also weak. That's a bad job.
There's no doubt about
And
it.
how the outgoing coach there is getting an interview, I mean, that's a defensive coordinator interview.
I would hope so. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul Kuharsky with us for the remainder of the program. We will take your questions for him on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
No doubt about it.
Geographically,
There's not a south part of Detroit.
it's just
North,
east,
south,
and west.
east.
How do you know that I pee my pants that often?
He peed on my rug.
He peed on the dude's rug.
The lower area is perfectly covered.
Fly is open. Let's go pee.
That's right.
And owes money all over town and they pee on my rug?
I would let them pee around the field.
This guy peed on it.
Well, did you know the play call?
Where's he in terms of knowing everything, Mike?
Everything? Yeah, I mean, I don't think everybody besides you knows everything.
Google me. I annoy.
It is time for the Rex Rant, brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Heal from the inside out. Check them out at Functional Medicine of Tennessee.
How about me
Dot
knowing
net.
everything? I got to use that as a tag for my site. Mike Vrabel says I know everything.
Ian, flip it.
What's with the peeing
Send it
thing?
to Kuharsky.
What's with the peeing thing?
Am I ranting
Is
about
it-
urine
is it
today?
Urine Wednesday on Robby and Rexrode. Urine Wednesday.
Let the record show there was no audio of me saying that.
Wee
There really wasn't.
Wednesday.
How'd you stay away from that?
I guess I don't know. Restraint, I guess.
He was out that day.
Oh, I should have brought up the urinal. There's a urinal comment in the trough somewhere around
Oh
there.
yeah, that did.
Yeah.
That was a staple
Yeah,
of
that
Neil
was
Stadium.
that
You
one.
just saved.
Urinal cakes. I don't know why I just said that.
Sure, yeah.
Just add that right in.
Just throw it
Yeah,
in there.
there's another drop. But I think Google me, I annoy should be your new, that should be your motto now.
Tagline.
Yeah. When people ask who the hell you are, Google me, I annoy. Boom. Okay. All right. So PK, of course, we have to bring PK in on the show to the story that has swept the nation, of course, going back to the Jags press conference, which let me again say, first of all, Lynn Jones, I saw her on a TV interview in Jacksonville. She was I was very impressed. She was great. And I thought it was really interesting for people who don't know. She was like at the game. It's a community. It's a black newspaper. It's a community newspaper that covers the whole community. And so she was at the game and someone's like, you should go to the press conference. Like, again, people think she covers the Jags on a regular basis. And that's how she quit. No, she okay, I'll go to the press conference. Sees this guy distraught and says a nice word to him. We've all been at press conferences where stuff like this happens. You roll your eyes, you move on. The problem is that Schefter, who's a journalist, who isn't someone who just randomly would go, he's the one who said, this is awesome. He is the problem.
He's a big
He
problem.
caused the problem. People think that it's all these media people attacking Lynn Jones. No. Schefter caused the whole thing. And no one would have ever noticed this or cared. Thank you, Schefter. But really, Paul and Robby, I have to use this to read this because I'm sure a lot of people on social media have seen it, and I'm interested in all your opinions on it. But I have to read this from Pat McAfee, who, by the way, many times, for example, when he took some stupid internet rumor about some girl sleeping with her boyfriend's dad that was just made up and then talked about it on his show, I asked you, Robby, is he an idiot? I've asked that question many times. Is he an idiot? I will not ask you anymore if he's an idiot.
Okay.
I will not ask you anymore if Pat McAfee's an idiot. There's no reason to ask the question anymore. Let's read this Pat McAfee part of this tweet. It's like one of those way too long. Sorry that happened, or congratulations. Quote, love seeing these sports journalists get absolutely buried for being curmudgeon bums. Obviously not all of them, but a large percentage of these things hate sports. They hate what sports are for people, in parentheses, happiness. They hate what sports are for society, in parentheses, unifier. They're political journalists by nature who have preyed on sports because they saw it as an easier path to make it. I'm not even going to read the rest of it.
Yeah, it's easy.
When I read that, I was like, so you're actually one of those dudes who goes on terrible websites and believes stupid conspiracy. He's that stupid. He's that freaking stupid. Pat, I promise you, there's a lot of fair criticisms of media and sports reporters. And maybe, Paul, you're an exception. You may hate everything. But I would be willing to bet that 98, okay, I'll go there. 8% of
96.
people who are in sports media, you say 96?
96.
Okay, let's split the difference at 97. Actually love sports and actually love what they do because most people don't get rich doing this stuff, man. Good for you. You were a punter, and you talk a lot of trash, and you're entertaining, and so you've made a lot of money having very famous people on your show and never asking them a serious question. Good for you. Congratulations. Most people doing this are out there covering a Tuesday night swim meet or a Friday night. They're trying to get names on the phone and figure out people's names, or they're covering a beat, and it's day after day after day, or they're embarrassing themselves on a microphone in a radio show early in the morning. Whatever it is, people love sports. The idea that, think about that. You wanted to
give
up
political for half a year for my entire adult life because I hate it.
I really wish I could cover this, Board of Education meeting. I'm going to go to sports and see if I can find my way in there. It's embarrassing.
Let me say this.
I know embarrassing.
I know Pat a little bit. I covered him when he played, and I've been in touch with him periodically in his, blazing career ascent. And I'm sure he didn't see my tweet response to this because he was getting his boots licked by everybody. But I tweeted back to this. Pat, you have two baskets of guests. One is athletes and newsmakers. And what's the other one? It's all of these people.
Schefter.
He has Schefter on. He has all Heather Dinich is on there. It's all the exact kind of reporters that he is bashing, who, by the way, nobody has any stones in the business to not show up for a week and say, well, Adam, Pat, since you have such a problem with us, I'm going to take the week off. I'm unavailable. You go ahead and fill your time, and I know you can. But for this week, I'll put out on Twitter, I'm unavailable to the Pat McAfee show since I'm a miscreant, apparently.
A miscreant. I like that.
Great word.
It is.
Just like I say to the Titans beat, hey, they're not interested in our press conferences being streamed beyond their own thing because they want it to be strictly their benefit. And if I thought anybody on the Titans beat had the spine to do it, I would say, hey, let's all go to the press conference and not ask a single question and leave it all to a Jim Wyatt one-on-one, or let's not go to one to send a message. Hey, if you think it's your product, then you go ahead and handle all the question asked.
It's true.
But nobody will do it.
Why is PK hijacking my rant? I had a perfectly good rant.
No, I think this has worked out swimmingly, I think.
Well, I do want to quickly get your thoughts on this whole thing that caused all that. I mean, it's funny. Adam Rittenberg tweeted the other day. It was like, I forget what the meme was, but he's like, I'm one of the few of us in media who haven't weighed in on this at all. Have given no opinion whatsoever on this.
She's not on the beat. There's a big confusion that she's on the beat. There's a black book that the league puts out every year. It's a guide to media throughout the league. I went and looked intentionally because somebody was asking me. I was very confident. It lists the people who covered the team. She is not on that list. Now her outlet is on, others covering, whatever. But she's not there. Like, people think this woman's there daily,
every day,
and that she has, big relationships with these people. It is fine for her to convey this to Liam Cohen, not in that setting. And look, it is fine for reporters to feel badly for people who have done good work and for the thing to come to an end. When the Titans lost that game to Cincinnati, I'm sure at some point, talking privately to Vrabel and other people who I liked on that staff, I said, man, that friggin' sucked.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that feels. But after the game, you're talking about how did Tannehill throw 3 interceptions and all of that stuff. And other people who broke down the press conference and were unsatisfied with the questions. Well, that's a shortcoming of the beat or whatever. But also her taking up, and people said it's 19 seconds. Well, it's 19 seconds that you're not in the locker room where guys are packing up and going. And the other thing is, everybody says that it doesn't apply to me, but says that the media is too soft in general.
I think you're soft.
And somehow she is hailed as, oh my God, look how joyous this is that she's bringing some happiness and some kindness to the thing. Well, what is it that you want? Also, they say, all you guys do is chase negative clickbait stories. Any reporter will show you the Google Analytics. The happy story gets no readership.
Well, okay, I can argue with you on that.
Generally speaking.
Well,
a nice feature story.
News is news. News is news.
News is news. There's no story about the planes landing at the airport. Nobody gives a damn.
Right.
The airplane crash is big news.
Yeah, but I would push back. The only thing on that is if you do a really good job on an in-depth human interest story, that gets interest and attention and all that too.
Sometimes, but also the long, in-depth feature story, which your outlet is expert at, is I do a story like that at my site, different site for sure. It gets glossed over. People don't have the time or the interest to sit down and read that story to the degree I wish they did.
Yeah, it depends.
They want 600, 800 words, generally speaking. So critique yourself. What is it that you're reading? Adam turned this into controversy by saying it was awesome. When Adam Schefter was a beat writer in Denver, he is a super happy, nice guy, so he might have said it's a cute moment. But I bet he thought it was less awesome if it happened in his room.
Do we have time for you to talk about Tic Tac Titans?
And I also, beat writers need to control their room to a degree. Mark Long and Duraco and those guys were ashamed that this happened in their room.
Mark Long, he got ratioed.
Kuharsky said, "Hey, you stop!"
Well, we've got people who are.
Hey, that's enough. That's enough.
We've got people who are a step short of this, who show up at Titans press conferences, who announce that they're fans, and who do big, long pontification thing. Who are you and where are you from? Come to a practice once in a while. You don't get this.
Name names.
He's not allowed in there. I don't know his name. That's the point. Who is he? Where's he from? He's got a big camera and he's asking about, something that nobody's ever going to see in their life.
It's the third time Rexrode's brought him up today.
I mean, we got a whole hour to get into that whole thing.
That guy
Can't
never
wait.
shows up anywhere. He's a hider. That's his number one thing.
Paul Kuharsky.
The masked man. He might as well put a bag over his face.
The rest of the show. Got a lot of stuff on the Titans coaching search to get into. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar, Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us. We're taking your Titans questions at 615-737-1025 on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I remember when he used to play hurricane music.
I know, I forgot.
So hurtful.
Are you gonna sit and protest until you get it?
Yep. I'm out. I'm out of the contest.
Yeah, you'd probably be the first one out of the contest.
Stand back.
Hey!
There's a hurricane coming through.
Too late. Too late.
Bit of a slower storm developing today.
Don't we have?
I would argue it's already made landfall.
Don't we have like a daily plan to the show?
Not really.
No. Yeah, that was a dumb.
It's organic. We like to be organic around here.
Dumb question.
Rexrode forgot there was a show yesterday.
Yeah. I didn't slide. Apparently, didn't slide the alarm thing over to the green. I woke up on my own at exactly 6 o'clock.
Nice.
Looked at the. Oh my god. Yeah.
How'd that go?
Set the alarm.
Ian got me a Zoom, and I actually would have made the first segment, except I couldn't figure out how to hear on my computer.
You can set the alarm for like every day to go off at the same time without having to
It's a
switch the green
fascinating
every
thing.
day.
If you have a regular gig, it's the thing. To
It'll
do.
just stay on weekdays.
My kid actually has like a
Interesting.
different alarm set for every day.
Very interesting.
Teach me the way.
Technology. So, PK, we've gone through the John Harbaugh part of this in terms of it. It's looking very likely that he's interviewing with the Titans. You've got the Giants, the Falcons, the Titans considered to be the favorites here. Let's play this out for a second. And let's say the Titans land John Harbaugh. What do you think that does for this fan base? How big a deal is that for this franchise if they land John Harbaugh, given everything that's happened around here the last few years?
Going to Super Bowl, baby. I mean, I think the expectations go through the roof, and these back-to-back 3-3s are largely forgotten. They pivot to an immense degree of hope, and a team that really had nobody beyond Jeffrey Simmons to put on the enormous banners that hang from the four corners of old Nissan Stadium. Market the coach. Market a proven commodity coach, which is not something that that it could do with the last guy. It's not something it was willing to do with the guy before that for the final few years, and can honestly say it's done what I think all of us thought was inconceivable, and has matched the Mike Vrabel disaster, where, I think that's the standard that most of us are holding them to. You don't need to be better than Brian Callahan. You need to get as good as Mike Vrabel, and they will have gotten as good as Mike Vrabel.
We need to be better than that, right? I mean, don't you need to get to Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about
He
a
didn't get
coach
to
who
one.
could come in and flip you from 3-14 to 14-3. And I'm not saying he will do it, but he's capable of doing it. And most of the other guys, I mean, there are a lot of proven guys on this list, but if you're hiring a young defensive coordinator, first-time head coach, you have to catch some lightning in a bottle, and a guy has to surprise you, and there's a lot of unknown. This is not that. This is the opposite of that.
In the history of this franchise, if they were to hire John Harbaugh, what previous coaching hire could you possibly compare that to? I mean, probably the biggest splash was Wisenhunt, right?
Yes.
I mean, other than like everything else, it's sort of been like, oh, Bum Phillips, sure. Jeff Fisher, give him a try, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Vrabel was like it was like kind of a hot candidate, but still, like, you've never been a head coach. You've been a bad, head coordinator, bad year. Like, this is like would be totally unprecedented in terms of this franchise going super big at coach.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Houston beyond Bum Phillips, but most of Houston, but before Bum Phillips, is also ancient history.
I mean, George Blanda may have coached, kicked, quarterback, smoked cigarettes all at once. I don't remember.
Ancient history, too. It's not the modern NFL. In the modern NFL, this would be a coup. And it's disappointing that if they don't get Harbaugh, say they don't get Harbaugh and they wind up with Stefanski, I mean, that's a pretty good hire, and people are going to be somewhat disappointed
Wah, wah.
in Stefanski. I mean, I think at the start of this, if Harbaugh was still employed, Stefanski would have been, in my eyes, a damn good hire. I think he'd still be a damn good hire. So, I'd brace yourself that if they don't get John Harbaugh, they could still do pretty damn well based on how things have shaken out. And this is pretty funny because I never wrote it, but 2 weeks before the season was over, I was going to bunch the coaching thing in with a bunch of other things with how the Titans are always ill-timed at stuff. The year you get the number 1 pick for the quarterback, there's not the Andrew Luck pick. And, even this year, you need an edge, and there's no clear-cut dominant edge. I know a lot of people like Bain and stuff, but he's not the bendy, edge-burning guy.
Well, most people think he's going to be a 3-tech.
Yeah.
Right, which is not what the Titans need. And even Carnell Tate, who I like a lot, doesn't have the blazing speed you'd like if you're taking a running back, a wide receiver at 4. And how things just never seem to line up for the Titans time-wise. And if you looked at this coaching pool before the firings started, I would have said the same thing about the coaching pool. Like, it's an average coaching pool in that you're going to have to find a guy who's going to have to turn into something. You got nobody out there that's the home run candidate, the Ben Johnson, or the Mike Vrabel, who's available from your own doing. In this coaching pool. And it's turned out to be a fantastic coaching pool now.
Yeah, it really has. And, you mentioned it. I think when this whole thing started, everybody just to say, Nagy is the first name announced in the interviews, and he knows Mike Borgonzi. And like now, if that's where it ended up, I would, number one, I'd be disappointed. Number two, I would be surprised. Like I will at this point, I will be surprised if Matt Nagy is the hire.
I will.
Like
too.
there's so many other names out there.
He's never been at the top of mind anyway. So I'm like, I would prefer like Saleh over him. I think that's a massive disappointment.
There are conspiracy theorists out there that think they're interviewing 18 guys as a cover to still pick Matt Nagy, which I think is crazy. And I'll go again. Look, Chad Brinker hired Borgonzi last year. He had, I dare say, he is closer to John Eric Sullivan than Borgonzi is to Matt Nagy. I don't know. Similar anyway, but potentially closer. And he did an interview process with not nearly as many people as this, and he settled on Mike Borgonzi. And he called a good friend of his and said, I can't offer you the job. So I don't understand why Titans fans aren't looking at that and thinking, well, that means that they go through a reasonable process here. Also, the Titans are taking a lot of crap. And I wrote this yesterday. I reposted it this morning. A lot of crap for talking to so many people. In my opinion, there is no downside to talking to this many people. Not all of them are legitimate head coaching candidates. Some of them will wind up being coordinator candidates. Also, say none of them wind up here except one. So say Harbaugh interviews and you've talked to 19 people and only one of them winds up here and none of them wind up being your coordinators. And these guys go and disperse across the league, 17 other guys. Do you realize the amount of intel they have gathered on how people would defend Cam Ward, on how people would deploy Cam Ward? You're getting encyclopedic knowledge of how the league views you. Al Davis was a huge believer in this. He did extensive interviews with people. This is the sane Al Davis before, I mean, he was always crazy, but before he really went nuts at the end. And he preached this all the time. Like, why would I pass on opportunities, free opportunities, to talk to people about all of this information?
Yep.
Now, Chad Brinker has talked about, like, he does a scouting report every week about the opponent. And if he could hand his new coach a thing and say, by the way, when this guy interviewed with us, he said that he would attack Cam Ward, in X, Y, and Z fashion all the time if he was coming against him. And that would be one of his priorities if he became our head coach is combating that. That is great intel to have. And they will have it for 17 guys who are scattered around the league in different positions. How could you see that as a bad thing?
So this is just a big spy mission. Interesting.
Well, additionally, it's a spy mission.
James Bond. Said back to our phone line, driven by Wilson County
Nagy.
Hyundai.com.
Matt Nagy.
That's right.
These guys are talking about players that they've coached now that are going to be free agents at some time in the future, and you're expanding your files on them. Think of what you get out of 3 hours with Vance Joseph and how many different files it could go into that ultimately could be helpful to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's welcome in Joe to the program. Joe, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning. Robbie's, Amy, and Joe's PK are two of my favorite things.
Thank you.
I wanted to call in. Let me see if I can go old school Jim Rome. I didn't write it down, but let me see how much of my crap I can remember. So, remember how people would always read their calls? So, everybody talks. Herndon wrote a great piece referencing the ESPN study a few years ago on PK.com about second-time coaches and, quote, retreads or whatever. It's funny, nobody refers to Vrabel as that. Like, when they're talking about the great job in New England that he's doing, it's rarely, oh, look at this retread second-time around coach Mike Vrabel. Like, oh, well, he would have always done the same junk that he did, that he's doing in New England. Nothing about the mistakes that he learned from in Tennessee and stuff. You rarely hear that. Anyway, so I called a couple weeks ago talking about the journey of Clint Kubiak being like Kyle Shanahan. And, like, if you like Matt Nagy, and I know a lot of people don't, you should love Mike McDaniel in that, like, they're eerily similar. Both, like, so Mike McDaniel has spent most of his career with Kyle Shanahan, except for when he was the head coach in Miami. And their two records, he was the play calling head coach in Miami. And their two records, 34-31, 35-33, eerily similar, except the differences being to me is he led the league in rushing with guys named like Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. I love his running game so much. And he's turned Achane into a star. Like, running backs just go to Miami and, like, he just schemes it up and he gets little fast dudes who just go everywhere. And then also,
Joe, let me stop you there. It's a good point. That's a good point. We're going to get into the McDaniel part of this.
He makes a lot of people better.
He does. When McDaniel is
talk more
being
about
interviewed today, we will get into that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans head coaching search. Paul Kuharsky is with us here on the program. Well, PK, what do you think of Mike McDaniel? I think a lot of Titans fans, when this process started, thought of him as, yeah, that'd be a really good offensive coordinator candidate. You know, particularly, I mean, the Saleh McDaniel pairing came up a lot. He is being interviewed, I believe, today for a head coaching spot for the Tennessee Titans, one of the many interviews they are doing. Where do you come down on the Mike McDaniel part of this?
I think he's tighter with Dan Quinn, or as tight as he is with Robert Saleh. And Washington went ahead and promoted in-house to replace Kingsbury.
Yeah.
And so that indicates to me that Dan Quinn thinks he's getting a head coaching job. He's got 4 interviews, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's getting a head coaching job. I think that people view him as really good with quarterbacks, a smart guy who will adjust from what he failed at in Miami, hopefully scale down the crazy dressing habits that he picked up down there. My wife can't stand him.
Your wife can't stand him?
She saw that side by side. I mean, she just doesn't like him, but I think that side by side of like what he looked like when he showed up and what he looks like now.
It's hilarious.
Like the glasses and the hair gel and the clothes. It's just such a
What was the clothing?
Transformation.
Was like a Don
showed up-
Johnson
yeah.
pastel T-shirt.
No,
and a
like
belly.
some patterned silk shirt, you know.
Right.
He showed up like looking like a normal
He'll
dude.
come here and all of a sudden the humongous
Cowboy hat.
pop on.
Yeah, right. Bolo
Look at-
tie.
He's at Disney World the other day, and he looked like he's wearing
Yeah, what is that?
pajamas.
What is that?
I mean, I don't know.
You can't have that as your coach.
To be fair, I wear sweatpants every day now. So
I that's really embarrassing. You're going down the Mark Howard path.
He's going down the gym.
I would say
jeans
to
are
him,
tight.
if I'm Borgonzi, I would say we can't have that. I can't have my head coach pictured taking a selfie of
Just
himself on a merry-go-round with no kids in sight, in pajamas.
I mean,
Why
Rand
that come up to his mid-calf.
why can't you be selfish? From a media perspective, it'd be amazing.
Didn't Rand do like his own hats, or he had his friend with the hats? You could
Yeah,
get Amy
the
Adams.
Yeah,
Sure.
Rand was selling
Hey.
hats like crazy, not for the Tennessee Titans,
Mike,
but for his boy.
we're going to hire you to be the head coach, and we're going to have some onesies as a staff that we're all going to wear together.
And they're going to take off. But we're going to make money for the Titans instead of for Rand
If
and for
you're ready.
Rand's friends. Rand's friends were putting out of business by selling our own stuff. It's amazing. It's an amazing idea. Rand never thought about it. I think the guy, his offensive inventiveness and mastery with Cam Ward and how much better he made people. The caller was talking about the running backs. I mean, Tyreek Hill was an amazing player in Kansas City, went to Miami and was better. It's crazy to think about. So when I think of him with his hands on what the Titans have and who he'll help the Titans bring in and what he could do with them, I am incredibly intrigued. The leader of men thing is a question.
But I've heard some good testimonials.
Yeah, I
on his
have
behalf.
too.
I think he's
pretty
all right.
pretty intriguing, and I would put him third right now, or tied for third. You know, Harbaugh is clear one. I'm still intrigued by Stefanski, but I would put McDaniel right there with Saleh, who's been was my favorite before all the firings started.
McDaniel's my 2.
Yeah, I would not be unhappy. I mean, if they hired Mike McDaniel, I would be fine with that. Though I would like some. So I would be fine with it, knowing that they've had conversations about culture setting and leadership.
No, they've obviously made that clear. That's a big
Sure.
Real quick, Joe in Nashville was making that point on the call. Thanks for the call. Also, thanks for following up with the text. We may be stealing from our friend Andrew like the Oscar music after a minute or something. We need to come up
Play
with
them all.
something to play at the 60-second mark where like the call
It needs to be at least back and forth conversational where you talk 15, 20 seconds and then we talk and then it's back and forth.
Just
But
study
you
film
can't
on Bob
talk for
Mannion.
60 seconds straight. It gets boring.
Bob from Antioch comes in. I got 2 questions where bye. That's it. And they're good questions. Like
Good old
that's it.
Bob.
Way to go, Bob.
Bobby.
Sometimes people just want to make a point. They don't have a question, and that's going to be longer. But try to think 60 seconds.
Game
And then also think of what we can do to end the call. Whoopee cushion sound. Yeah, I don't know. We'll do something.
Shot clock, you said, which I
Yeah,
like.
Robbie had the shot clock. I like that idea.
What do we tick down? The final 6 seconds, the final 5 seconds?
Just the crowd chanting in the background.
Yeah.
And then the buzzer.
4.
It's not a bad idea.
Adam, you're on the clock. Adam from Portland on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
I don't think you guys give me enough credit for how concise I am. Anyway, so
I think you're very
here's my
concise.
thing, dude. I hear you guys talking. Have you noticed that the weirder the guy is, like, as long as he's winning, fans love how weird that. Like McDaniel, when he was winning, it's like, yeah, he's obviously a weird dude.
Dead on.
But like, he's a boss. So and then like Levis is the perfect example. I thought it was charming, all the Mayo commercials and the weird crap he was doing when he got here. And then he starts throwing backwards passes, and we're like, Mayo Cologne, dude, really? Like, what a loser.
Get out of here, Mayo boy. No, you're totally right.
Exactly right.
Weirdo. So that turns quick. So I can see it going either way with McDaniel, dude. I kind of like him, but also, like, you better win if you're going to be weird.
Thank you, Adam.
That's
Appreciate
a good slogan.
No.
Weird and winning is a nice T-shirt.
It's like Bull Durham, It's like, fungus on the shoes. It's charming or whatever, but it's just gross if you're whatever, minor leaguer. But, I mean, that's 100% true. Vrabel here was like, oh, yeah, he's tough, and he's smashing him. And at the end, it was like, he's just such a jerk. Why is he such a jerk, right?
And then, of course, it was Love Fest the other night when he hurt his lip on the banging the helmet there. It's like, there's Vrabel again.
I mean,
He's
God,
bleeding.
He went to everybody on the side. Look, guys, look at my lip. It's bleeding.
Are you going to be surprised if he doesn't win Coach of the Year? I mean, there's just so much good
I won't
PR.
be shocked. I won't
for
be
him.
shocked.
I'm going to be shocked if he doesn't win it.
I won't be shocked. How could you be shocked? I mean,
A lot of
Johnson,
good candidates, but the PR has been so spectacular
McDonald.
for Vrabel.
yeah, but I think Johnson won't shock me. McDonald won't shock me.
Cohen.
Who else?
Cohen.
Well,
it'd be hard for.
I don't think he's going to win.
Jacksonville,
But Liam, I want you to
keep your head up.
Yes.
If you lose the award, keep your head
I'm
up.
sending a hug from here to you.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A whole lot more to get into with PK coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. I got a 4-pack of tickets to give away to Monster Jam Freestyle Mania at Bridgestone Arena this Saturday night. Show starting at 5:30. To caller number 6. Caller 6, 615-737-1025. Caller 6 will win a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam Freestyle Mania coming up this Saturday night at Bridgestone Arena. Let's head back to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Mike to the program. Mike, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
60,
Hey,
59, 58. Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great.
You know, everybody's on the Mike McDaniel train, and I just, you know, if I'm Borgonzi and I have to make this decision based on the work that's been presented in front of me, you know, I have to look at his negatives as well. You know, he could not control the team. He had very little. He was kind of hands off with that, and they had some problems, you know, behind closed doors. And I have to look at that. And would I want to risk my job, even though I can honestly say he can look at it and say, hey, I did this wrong. I need to change this in the next job. You know, I want to put my job on the line, even though he's a brilliant offensive mind. Would I want to put my job on the line and he not be a leader of men when he gets here? I'm going to just get out the phone and let you tell me, you guys, what you think.
It's a fair consideration. I mean, look, Borgonzi knows that his neck is on the line for this coaching hire the way that, frankly, Brinker knew that his was on the line with the Borgonzi hire. I mean, that's Brinker's moment, was the hiring of the GM, and this is Borgonzi's moment, the hiring of the coach. So he's going to feel sure if he hires McDaniel about the leadership thing.
Do you think they are going to give serious consideration to Arthur Smith for the head coaching job, who I believe is interviewing later today?
Today. Yeah, it's today, and it's virtual. I put that out on Twitter. I don't know if it was new. I thought it might be in person. Look, I think they give serious consideration to a lot of people on this list, and certainly somebody that's got head coaching experience before. But I think he'd be in the second bunch at best. You know, so how things shake out will determine his placement.
His last time out is one of those things that it's one game, but also it was like, man, and I don't necessarily blame him, but it was just like that last impression of just an offense that had absolutely no hope at all.
The guy's never had a good quarterback, but I mean, that leaves you in a situation where you're projecting, and you're projecting him against a guy that won 2-time coach of the year in a also a bad situation, you know, had a better quarterback, whether he's doing it, but you're projecting it against a guy who went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years over 18 seasons. You're projecting it against a guy who's looked at as a, you know, supreme offensive innovator, and McDaniel. You know, I don't see him in that category.
I have a question on my personal text line that I think is pretty fascinating. So someone who, you know, has some insight on these things. And I hadn't even thought about this matchup, but, you know, it's Patriots-Texans. So the Amy Adams Strunk nightmare ball.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the question is, will Amy, seeing Vrabel or the hated Texans advance the AFC title game, spur her to pay a Harbaugh what he wants, which is not her MO? Because, of course, you know, whoever wins is going to be like an interesting thought of like the things that are happening elsewhere. Does that change her if that is indeed a philosophy change for her? I mean, like you said earlier, BK, she's paying all this money for people to not work for her stuff. So why would you? But that's still different than being like, yep, let's go top of market. We're going all in for this coach, who, by the way, is 64.
Harbaugh, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see. Look, Russini's on here. Russini's on here, and she's saying, you know, the perception amongst a lot of these people who are interviewing for the job is she's not going to be a problem. Well, if she's not going to pay for the people who perceive this, then she's automatically a problem. So is she going to prove these people right by paying them, or is she automatically going to prove them wrong by not paying?
Is there anybody else I guess Stefanski. I was going to say, is there anybody else in this cycle who is going to command like crazy money?
I don't think so.
It's
I
just
mean,
Harbaugh,
I
right?
think
Yeah.
it would be closer to what Vrabel, 10-ish,
Yeah.
10-ish, 12-ish as compared to 18-ish, 20-ish.
I'll tell you this, and maybe she doesn't care because whatever. I mean, she's already been criticized heavily for years now in this town. But if it turns out that it's just a money thing that Harbaugh goes to the Giants because it's just a money thing here,
that will not go over well.
You're not over.
It'll take a while for that to come out.
Yes,
probably.
but it probably
once it does, pitchforks and torches.
What do you think of Brian Daboll, who was named to this extensive list yesterday as a head coaching candidate?
No, it's coordinator candidate for sure. So I mean, guys like Daboll and Gannon, I don't think have a chance in hell at the head coaching job. I think it's intel gathering. And if you hire a defensive coach, then you've got intel and a new relationship with Daboll. And if you hire an offensive coach, you've got intel and a relationship on somebody like Gannon. So some of these interviews are to me, clearly that. I wouldn't want Raheem Morris as a head coach. Or Vance Joseph for me, though you hear good things about Vance Joseph. But if those guys are available as coordinators and your new head coach likes them or has pre-existing relationships with them, plus you now know them, you're in good position to leap as this landslide comes, because one head coach is going to get hired, the dominoes are going to start to fall, and with 9 new coaches, the fight for staff, it's going to be akin to undrafted rookie free agency.
Just chaos.
Everybody's on the line, and we got a war room going. And hey, get the coordinators in place because they're going to be making phone calls to all of the staff. And here's our depth chart at these positions and the guys we want and our budgets. And let's go deploy.
So Stefanski. Really interesting stuff, I thought, from Dianna today about Stefanski, and I've heard similar things about how much people like him, how much people think of him as a person. Obviously, he's a very smart guy, all that stuff. Then you have, so here's on our YouTube chat, Nash BBQ Bob says, Stefanski would be a terrible hire. Browns players want the same things Titan players want in their next head coach, leadership and accountability, meaning Stefanski had neither. TD last week said, I wouldn't even think of Stefanski because of all the Shador stuff, which to me I was kind of like, I just don't. I mean, there's two sides of that whole thing, right? I mean, if that's the one
all
player,
the Shador people don't like Stefanski.
But I guess so. One question for you: do we know of anyone else where there was something like that with Stefanski, or is this a one-off? Because if it's a one-off, you feel a little bit more like it's maybe more on the Shador side, and also just overall, like your sense for Stefanski. It just seems like there's just very widely varying opinions on him.
I think he's not a good media guy, so I'm not excited about that.
Take yourself out of it, Paul.
Well,
don't make yourself the story, Paul.
Yeah. Earlier, you had somebody like, how could you not want him for how great he would be with us?
Right. It's convenient to the conversation at the time.
I think, look, it's hard to. It's such a mess up there. I mean, you had a baseball guy who was in a position of extreme authority, applying baseball Moneyball philosophies to football, which is not crossover exceptionally well. The quarterback thing at turnover is incredible. The Deshaun Watson contract was handcuffing to their personnel to an amazing degree. Andrew Barry seems respected, and they have had some talent at times through this. At the best of him, he won 2 Coach of the Year awards, which is really impressive to do anywhere. Better yet, there. And so I think, you can look at Harbaugh and say, well, this guy in the most stable situation in the league with the best personnel department, gave an organization extreme stability, but ultimately only won one Super Bowl and kind of underachieved, which is why he's out of there and grew stale. And Stefanski kind of comes from the exact opposite situation. So you're measuring very different things against each other.
I would say so. I would also, on the Stefanski front, we've talked about the quarterback situation there being as bad as it was. I also look at the way that they have a defense that they have built that was really good, obviously led by Myles Garrett. And Flacco coming in playing the way he did a few years ago. Does that
it's like any
any sort of
competent quarterback,
quarterback play? Does that elevate him in your
I
mind?
agree. And also I would say that Shador, it wasn't all great. Of course, it was probably more bad than good for a rookie, but actually I thought you saw something there, despite all whatever the heck was going on with those two. So I agree.
And look, he's not the only guy that hasn't there are weird things that go on with coaches and quarterbacks and organizations. So, Mike Vrabel went out of his way to not praise Will Levis when he threw 4 touchdowns or the other great game he had coming back from Miami, right? And everybody thought that was weird, but there was certainly a method to his madness there.
I mean, he didn't even praise Taylor Lewan for wearing a Boss Hog suit that day.
Right.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So there was a
Still
purpose.
pisses me
There
off.
was a purpose to that. And I'm sure there was a purpose to Stefanski and the way he handled Shador. And he's not going to come out and say what that is, but there's a reason that he's not just being catty or something, right? There's a method to what he's doing. He's not an idiot, and he's not doing stuff out of spite. I find that very hard to believe. And so if you're just going to cross him off, and I would have this argument with TD, and we've talked about it some in the press room, or Josina Anderson, who's TD times a billion on the Shador Sanders front, which gets to me secondhand because she blocked me years ago. But I mean, her whole career now is based on backing Shador Sanders and thinking that he's a massive victim. But I mean, also his organization probably screwed him. They wanted Dylan Gabriel. They get to a certain point, then he's given somebody that he didn't want. Is he making the most of that? What are the interior politics? All of that stuff, we don't know. But do I think he's an idiot because of the way he handled Shador Sanders? Did I think that Vrabel was an idiot because of the way he handled Will Levis? No.
615-737-1025, our phone number. One more segment with PK coming up next. Take more of your questions on the Titans head coaching front. Preds Fan Smashville Live returning tonight at 6 o'clock on 1025 The Game, live from Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Player guests will be Ozzie Weisblatt, Reed Schaefer. That's tonight at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs and only on 1025 The Game. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 1025 The Game. Final segment of the day, Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us here on the program, taking your thoughts and questions on the Titans. People are asking your thoughts on Cam Ward being snubbed from the NFL Rookie of the Year ballot. Do you have any thoughts on that?
6 people, right? 6 people, not him?
That's correct.
It's not a ballot per se. I think what happened is I'm pretty firm on this. These are the people who got votes. And so now they put out the 6 people who got votes. There's no ballot.
So it's like Heisman finalists.
Yes.
Like
there's no
here
ballot.
are the finalists because they got the most votes.
Yeah. If you're voting for Offensive Rookie of the Year, you can vote for 2 or 3 people, I think, now. And then this is what came out of that.
Yeah.
They don't put people on a ballot for you to vote for.
By the way, Jackson Dart.
You put the names down on your paper.
Jackson Dart, Travion Henderson, Ashton Genty, Tet McMillan, Carson Schlesinger, and Tyler Shuck are the names.
Chase from White Bluff reminding us
See,
again.
also,
Tyler Shuck about to take over the league.
There's an offensive and a defensive. Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I'm a little bit confused by what that is, where it mixes both in. Are there 3 defensive
Have they changed
and 3
it? I don't know.
offensive?
No.
It's not half and half?
That's what it says.
So
those
what
are
was the breakdown of offense and defense?
There's 1 defensive player on that list.
I think he's Defensive Player of the Year.
I guess he'll win that one then.
And you've got a couple running backs, a couple running backs, a couple receivers, and a couple quarterbacks and 1 receiver. There you go. If I can speak today.
You do have, in terms of, it's not very good for radio, but you do have a 1-minute sand timer here that you could use for.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I could hold this up right like this whenever we start a call.
Well, that's good for people who are watching the show, but it still is more
nice.
of a listening medium.
Well, apparently they really enjoy my facial expressions when we have certain calls. So
that has been
I think people just enjoy your facial expressions, period.
My face. It's just a big, beautiful, ruddy,
You have like
according
a ruddy,
to you,
can have
ruddy, thing.
a ruddy meter for calls that run long.
So let's put you on the spot right now.
I know he loves this.
This will be, if you get this right, we'll buy you lunch.
Okay.
Put yourself on it right now. Who is going to be the Tennessee Titans head coach? Who do you truly believe?
He loves it.
You know I'm not answering this. I have no idea.
No, oh God, you can't give a guess. You just give your best guess right now.
He gives a guess, and then people are going to
give a guess,
and
and it's
Tic-Tac
gonna be
Titans and be like, Paul Kuharsky reported.
That's right. That's why I can't do it. That's why I can't do it.
I hope you're listening, Tic-Tac Titans. That's his name, right? Tic-Tac Titans?
Yeah. Can't we get a device that blows up the signal on his phone?
Seriously. Okay, that was really uncalled for.
I am not.
Oh, bull crap. You are going to tell us right now. You're going to give us a name. Who do you believe? We're not holding you to it. I'm buying you a free lunch if you're right.
I'll give you a name.
I want him, though.
I'm just
I'll
volunteering my service.
Okay, go ahead.
Kevin Stefanski will be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Interesting.
Mike McDaniel.
Ooh.
Man, that would be I don't know, man. More and more I'm really warming to that idea.
Do it. Say Harbaugh.
Yeah, I am going to say Harbaugh.
Wow.
They're going to get
lottery
Harbaugh.
winner.
They're going to get Harbaugh.
I don't think. I mean, I think it's completely conceivable that they get Harbaugh. I do think that the Giants. There's something about the Giants, man. The prestige and the
That's
history
where I think he ends up.
and all of that stuff that they've got a little pull to them that it's not a modern thing.
Well, it is. Dianna talked a lot about. We haven't really gotten much into this, but it's such an interesting where you live, right? Because again, you can get into these coaches. You said it, right? You wake up, you go, but they also have other people in their lives and their family, right? So I mean, look, it would appeal to me to like have an apartment on the Upper East Side and like walk the city, but some people would not, and obviously this is a great place to live. I do wonder because like Ian O'Connor, who I'm definitely trusting in this situation. I mean, he knows Harbaugh real well, and he just tweeted yesterday, slight lead for the Giants, but he definitely thinks the Titans are serious. How do the Titans make up the difference?
Woo, 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 woo.
There's a drop. Got that, Ian?
I mean, you got to woo the wife too, like Dianna, talked about that, and you're talking about. I think you got to court the wife as much as you court the coach. Now, I don't know if that means Amy taking
Now
her
let's
out
head on out to Broadway. Here we go.
Take her out to the horse farm.
Do you like to fox hunt?
Now come on out here.
You got to find the keys to stuff like that as well. But I don't know. I mean, if you're coaching the Giants, you're not living in an apartment certainly not on the Upper East Side. That'd be a hell of a commute. But the Upper West Side, that's a hell of a commute to get.
That's true. You'd have to be on the West Side. Yeah.
It's a hell of a commute from the West Side to get to where you're going, even if you're leaving at 5 a.m. and coming back at 8.
They'll live in Jersey. Like, does everybody who works for the Giants live in Jersey?
So.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's appealing.
That to me, like that, I'm like totally out.
I'm out.
I'm completely out of that job. Then, if I have the money to go live in Manhattan, I'm gonna live in Manhattan. Lincoln Tunnel. I don't give a crap.
You would after you commuted it for 3
I'll go at 3 a.m.
I've been traveling for 2.5 hours today. Amazing.
I've made that drive. I mean, covering a Titans Jets game, stayed in Manhattan, and did the tunnel.
You did it one day.
It was a Sunday, I guess, so I guess that would be a difference, wouldn't it be? But it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
It's a slight difference. Yes. And by slight, I mean massive.
PK, it's going to be fun.
Titans are getting him. I'm convinced now.
All right, you're in. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks. A joy to be here.
Next head coach of the Tennessee Titans, Matt LaFleur. I'm still willing it into existence.
I know you need it.
LaFleur! Get out of there, son. That's going to do it for us today here on the program. Thank you. We'll have you covered all day long on the Titans head coaching front. Next man up with Jake Lyman is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.